Welcome to Belong and Bloom, a sanctuary for Black women to rest, heal, and grow.
I'm Marianne.
And I'm Vanetta. We're qualified therapists and coaches, and we're so glad you're here.
This is a space to slow down, gain perspective, and reconnect with your purpose, power, and peace.
Through honest conversations and shared wisdom, we'll explore what it means to truly belong to ourselves and to our community.
Healing isn't a solo journey. It's something we grow into together. When we belong, we bloom.
Hello and welcome to today's episode. We will be talking about vulnerability, the courage to be vulnerable, what it looks like to be our true self and represent that to others. So we're really excited to be talking to you about that today.
So I'm really excited to be talking about the topic of vulnerability because I recognize when I work with my clients, especially with my Black female clients, they often feel like vulnerability and resilience live on opposite sides. But actually, it's important for us to recognize that they are complementary, that they can both coexist at the same time. It's not that by being vulnerable, it means that you aren't resilient, or by being resilient, it means you can't be vulnerable. So I'm really excited about unpacking what that looks like. You know, I always say you can be living the soft life and also embracing Black girl magic.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah.
I love that they're not opposing forces, so to speak, but actually they complement each other. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe before we sort of dive into it, Vanetta, what do you feel about me? Well, we can both be asking each other these questions, but doing a bit of a quick fire round of questions to get to know our own insights around this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, first question I have for you. What does living a soft life look like for you right now in this season? And, what's your inspiration behind choosing it?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question. I think soft life for me is really self-advocacy. I'd say, like, understanding what I need and actually putting things in place for that. So I know we were having a conversation the other day. Like, soft life for me looks like hiring a VA.
Do what you gotta do, girl.
We got to do what we got to do because it is a strategic advantage. But I'm also recognizing that actually I can't practically continue doing the volume of work that I enjoy doing whilst I'm also thinking about social media metrics and, this new algorithm and like just even the word algorithm gives me a little bit of like, I just don't like it. And it's okay. I love the fact that it's a whole industry and there are people that are in it that are excellent at it and do what they need to do. And that's why for me, soft life is finding one of those people and letting them do the work for me.
I love that.
Pinnacle of soft life, being able to delegate. And I don't just mean it in business, like even, and talking about vulnerability, because I know there's a lot of Black women who might not want that, but having a cleaner come in sometimes.
Oh, girl, I'm with you there. It's like the big taboo. Oh.
Exactly. It is, because we don't want other people touching our stuff. But guess what? The freedom it provides, the softness of life it provides for me, because I know that somebody's taking care of what they're good at and I'm able to support their business, support, their efforts to make money for their family, whilst I'm doing something that I love, something that I'm gifted at. Yeah. Soft life for me is delegation.
I love that. But you know what? Are you one of those ones where you clean the house before the cleaner comes?
Yeah, I feel like you can't really get that out of me because that's how I was raised, and that's how it's always been. Like, I tidy because I don't want to waste the cleaner's time. So I want to clean. So the house needs to be tidy so that you can clean. I don't want you to have to be decluttering and, doing all the things when all I need you to do is clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? We grow in stages.
I like that. Thank you for the compassion.
No, but I love that idea though. You know what you're saying about delegating, outsourcing, and realizing that actually, yeah, when we outsource, we are providing an opportunity for someone else to step into their brilliance. And
Exactly.
knowing our limitations is important, because actually, if I don't have the capacity to clean, if I don't have the capacity to do that piece of admin, someone else does. And it's
Yeah.
better that I thrive in the areas that I am good at, rather
Yeah.
than me just trying to survive. It's just not going to work.
It really isn't. And I'm doing my clients, I realize that more and more. So I'm doing my clients a disservice if I am so haggled by everything else that needs to be done to do this job, but then, showing up with kind of leftover energy rather than top of the morning
Ooh,
energy, if that makes any sense.
leftover energy.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that phrase with the next client I work with. I think you are, giving leftover energy.
It's giving leftover. It is giving leftover.
And that's so true, actually. That is so true. And I guess that, that whole soft life is it's an honest life, isn't it? It's
Yes.
recognizing, actually, this is who I am, this is what I can give, and I want to live in a place of fullness rather than a place of empty. Yeah, I love that. And I think for me it's the same thing. For me, soft life actually means being able to do life-giving things, having the time and the space to smell the roses, having the time and the space to enjoy my day and not to endure my day. Yeah. And so for me, it's how, I always say we're only given one day. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. So I don't want to make it feel like, oh, I just want to get through Monday to Friday so I get to Saturday and I can rest, and then Sunday's church. No, you don't know if you're going to make it to Tuesday. So for me, it's like, Monday is here. I am here right now in the present. What can I do that's going to allow me to enjoy today? At least one thing that is life-giving, so I can say, in this day, I didn't just exist, but I lived and I enjoyed it. And so I'm constantly asking myself that. And that's how I live my soft life, living my best life as much as I can each day, realistically. And outsourcing.
And I love, no, sorry, I was going to say, I love that, it's a decision as well that you're making with regards to what stuff like looks like for you. How do you add more life to your life, so to speak? Because one thing that I would say with regards to my definition being delegation, it's taken a while to get to here. I am fully aware of the fact that delegating means that you have some sort of level of wealth, or to be able to delegate. Because I'm very aware of the times that I've hated marketing from this day I started being an entrepreneur. Hate is a strong word, but I've disliked it. I've disliked it from the day I started, but I didn't have the funds to be able to delegate. I so badly wanted to, but I couldn't. So I love the fact that you're proposing something related to soft life that isn't necessarily connected to our ability to fund it as well.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Even what you're saying, we are living in a world where we are hyper exposed to other people's lives and stories. And what happens is we get the finished story. People will follow, where everyone's following someone, and someone will be like, oh, this is what my soft life era looks like. And they'll go through their beautiful home that is massive. And I'm like, that is not a London home. And they will show you their children that are, they're well Vaselined, they got their shea butter on and they look good, hair tight, and I'm like, girl, just trying to put one pigtail on my baby. Do you know how long that takes?
A struggle.
Around the house, right? So we sit there comparing and we're like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I can't live my soft life. I need this resource. I need that. But actually, we can all define what the soft life looked like for me in this season with the resources that I have. And that's just being
Yes.
honest and
Yeah.
in a way embracing our limitations. And that's what all vulnerability is about. It's living
Yeah.
in truth and being
Hmm.
able to love yourself, even if you're not your best self or your best version of
Yes.
self, but being
Hmm.
contented with who you are and expressing that truth
Mm.
to others.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, it is about living in truth, like you said. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to question number 2
Okay.
for you to start with. And still in the theme of vulnerability, when do you feel most safe to be vulnerable? And who or what helps you create that space?
Oh, that is a good question, because that word safety is an important
Mm.
one.
Mm.
Oftentimes we talk about this thing of vulnerability. So we know like Brené Brown, she's like the queen of vulnerability
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
And her research is amazing.
Mhm.
But I always say we've got to recognize our environment. Some environments are not safe. And especially for Black women, there's many
Mm.
environments that are not safe by
Yeah.
design. And
Yeah.
so we've got to have our wits about ourselves to know how much we can disclose, how much we can share. When can we shed that tear? Will that tear be received with love?
Nice.
Or will
Mm.
it be, we just don't think you're cut out for this job?
Mm.
you know? So for me to be safe, to be vulnerable, firstly, I think I've got to know what I'm about. I've got to have that
Mm.
time and space to recognize where I'm at. I need to know my story. I
Yes.
need to know actually what is it that I'm needing? What is it that I'm wanting? What's
Yeah.
lacking? What's missing? What do I
Mm.
need more of? What do I need less of? I've
Mhm.
got to know my story before I share that story to someone else. And when
Yeah.
I say story, I don't mean, a life narrative. I just mean, can I be vulnerable with this person by telling them that actually I feel really tired, I feel really overwhelmed? Or
Mm.
can I say to a friend, look, babe, I would love to meet up with you for a brunch, but realistically, these brunches are expensive and I don't have the money right now to do a brunch. Can we just have a phone call and I'll be nibbling on my croissant whilst I'm on the phone to you? You know, you know? So vulnerability can
Yeah.
look like different things. But
Mm.
for me to have that safety, it's first I've got to hear myself and feel
Yeah.
comfortable with my situation and my circumstance, and to
Mm.
know whether I then can then share it honestly
Mhm.
and wholesomely with other people.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also being aware of my
Mhm.
situation and the people around me. Some
Mm.
people I know they have the capacity to
Mhm.
hold my tears, my anxieties, my fears. And they're
Mhm.
going to be able to respond in a way that's loving and is going to be intentional. And
Yeah.
there's some people where I'm like, I could be crying, and not those pretty cries, those
Mm.
ugly
Ugly
cries.
cry. Yeah.
And they're going to be like, so. So with those people, I just know, girl, you do not have the capacity to hold what I'm going to share with you. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to share it. And that's going to be
Exactly.
loving to me and it's going to be loving to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's what.
I love that. There's so many nuggets of wisdom in what you've shared. I really, really appreciate even just the perspective of, actually vulnerability starts with us. Because sometimes if you can read the question to say, when do you feel most vulnerable? It could be like, oh, when such and such person does such and such, but actually it does start with us. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of a conversation I was having with my supervisor, about the fact that, do we create safe spaces for ourselves before we,
Mm,
like, am I safe in myself before I go and seek safety in someone or something else?
I love that.
And
I
that's what,
love that.
yeah, yeah, that's what this reminds
Mm,
me of. Your response reminds me of, vulnerability starts with, am I willing to be vulnerable with me? And then see if I entrust that vulnerability to someone else.
yeah, I love
Mm.
that. And oftentimes, for some people, the answer is no,
Mm.
I don't feel safe within myself to expose the
Mm.
truth to myself.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes people make themselves busy or they
Mm.
distract themselves. Distraction is a tool.
Yes.
It can also be a safety mechanism because I
Mm.
don't really want to hear what's going on inside. And
Yeah.
that can cause people to be stuck in situations that they shouldn't be stuck in. And I see that with clients that I work with, especially with, let's say, couples, where I'll
Mm-hmm.
see people stuck in relationships that aren't serving them, and they're really toxic,
Mm.
or they're really they're just really harmful on all their unboundaries.
Yeah.
And it's because they're afraid to be vulnerable and honest with themselves, and to realize that it's no longer serving them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because vulnerability really goes to the core of who we believe we are, what our worth is, what our significance is in this world. And like you said, Marianne, for so many of us, there's trauma attached to that.
Yeah, there is. There is. And we've got to, and that's where the empathy and the compassion has to come in, isn't it? We've got to learn to love ourselves and to recognize the journeys that we've taken.
Yeah.
Own our stories, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And be able to almost tell our story to ourselves. We need to know our stories. I remember someone saying, know thyself. That's where healing comes, in terms of you've got to be able to walk down that journey. And it's not an easy journey to walk through. So that way you can give yourself compassion and to almost go back into the past, and to be able to show love where love might not have been shown. Being able to show yourself love and to say, you know what, I didn't deserve to experience that. That wasn't my portion.
Yeah.
That wasn't right what happened to me.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to do that. But it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of support to go through that journey.
Yeah. And you mentioned support. That's what I was going to highlight as well. For those who are like, well, I don't know how to be vulnerable with myself. I don't feel safe within myself. This is where therapy is a really good opportunity. Like finding a good therapist who can support you in that journey to being safe within yourself.
Yeah.
To encounter yourself with self-compassion. And like Marianne said, go into those phases and stories and kind of points of your life where their love was taken away, where shame was added, where trauma was added in some way. To have that therapist be there with you and work that out in a safe way is fantastic, really.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I'm just thinking, I was delivering a workshop to women on confidence. That was what the theme was on. And one thing I was talking about was the idea of vulnerability being part of confidence as well. And I asked the ladies to introduce themselves and to say their names. And then I said to them, I don't want you to just say your name, because usually what people do is they'll just say their name, Marianne. And I said, well, what does your name mean? And most of them didn't know what their names meant. Where does it originate from? Why you were given that name? And our names, we carry our names with us everywhere we go. Anytime we introduce ourselves, we first start off with our names.
Yes.
And children in school, they're taught how to write their names, and they spend a lot of time doing that. And so even from very early on, we are taught the importance of knowing yourself.
Yes.
Okay, because how do you exist in the world if you're invisible to yourself? And so it's so important to develop a practice of knowing oneself. And that's why therapy is really important, because I've said it before, it's quality time with yourself, and your therapist shining that mirror so that you can truly see yourself. You can see the good, you can see the bad, you can see all aspects of yourself, and know that this is what it means to be me. And that's okay.
Exactly. So my interest is peaked now because you mentioned name meaning. And I've always been very intentional about that ever since I started researching as to the meaning of my name. Do you know what your name meaning is?
Yes. So my name is spelled unconventionally, because it's usually spelled with the two N's or whatever. And so when people look at it, they're like, is it Marianne? Is it Marianne? It's Marianne. And the two components, so Mary or Mary, comes from the word Mara, which actually means bitter, right? So in the Bible, when we look at the story, the book of Ruth, and we see Ruth and Naomi, Naomi, after she's experienced so much loss and grief and her life is turned upside down, she returns to her people and they go, Naomi, Naomi, which means pleasant, which means joyful and good. And she says, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara. Yeah. Because she feels that life has become bitter. And so that's what Mary means, or, you know. But then Anne means grace. And so I love that my name brings those two things together. Grace. And it's just, for me, it encapsulates life. In life, we have the highs and we have the lows. We have the ebbs and we have the flows. We have challenges and we have triumphs. And I feel like my name is such a representation of that. And I love the grace part, because that for me, it also summarized my faith identity as a Christian. You know, the fact that we have been loved in our fullness, in our limitations, we are still loved, and we have been redeemed, and we have been restored. So that's what Marianne means, bitter grace.
I love that. I love that so much.
Joy and sorrow, all of it together.
It's such a beautiful mix, such a such a testimony in your name as well.
Yeah, it is definitely, exactly. Well, Vanetta, your name is quite, I've never met another Vanetta. So I'd like to hear the story behind that.
So I've always kind of initially started hearing it as, okay, my dad's name has Van in it, and he was like, okay, I want to call you Van because it's part of my name, but I don't want to call you Vanessa, so we'll just go for Vanetta. And I was like, okay, cool. And then as I got older and, like I said, started being quite more intentional about identity, my identity in Christ, and, you know, how's my name, that and all of that. Well, my dad, the reason why he has Van in his name is because he was named after his dad and his mom, but his dad's name is Ivan. Ivan is another name for the word John, which means grace. So I was like, when you said Anne, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the same root as John. So that means grace. So I was like, okay, so the Van part that I've inherited from my granddad, from my dad, means grace. Like, okay, so what about Etta then? And Etta is actually Germanic, which I find funny because, for those who don't know, I was born and raised in Germany.
Stop it.
Etta is a Germanic name, and it means ruler of the hearth or administrator. And I remember the first time I read this and understanding that, wow, so I am this, my giftings, all my giftings are connected to grace, providing grace to others, giving grace to others through exhortation, through counseling, therapy, and also organization, administration, structure, direction, providing order. So actually finding out that my name is literally the composite of my identity, I'm like, wow,
that's amazing, isn't it? That is so beautiful, hearing that, and the richness of the history of your name and the legacy that's woven in between that. I love that. And I love, we're Grace sisters, you know?
Yes, we are. In grace. I love it.
And it is amazing that both of our names is a representation of what we do, you know, with me holding people's stories, helping them to be able to navigate through the bitterness of their lives and bringing them into a place of repair, of restoration. And the same for you as well. Like, that is incredible. And that's why it's such a lesson in learning to know more, leaning in, being intentional, shining a light into our stories, because it allows us to live more wholesomely and more beautifully in that. And that's what vulnerability is all about. It's living, it's living in truth. And that truth might be positive, it might be negative, but really being able to be anchored in your reality and being able to express that. Because when we do that, then people can love us well, because they are loving us in truth and not in falsehood or whatever we're pretending to be.
I think of this as we talk about this, I think of myself, my own journey, but also speaking to clients of mine, like, where does shame fit into that? Because I feel like vulnerability and shame are often quite connected. People don't want to be vulnerable because they feel ashamed of their stories.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because you are right that they do coexist. And they always say the antidote to shame is actually being able to voice and to vocalize, to share,
Mm,
to shine light into that situation. Because
mm,
what shame wants is for us to be silent,
yes.
hold back.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, as human beings, we lean into the negative. We have a
Mm,
negativity bias.
yes.
And
Yeah.
so, left to ourselves, we start to tell ourselves these untruths, these
Mm-hmm.
lies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a deception that happens. And
That's
we
it.
sometimes think, if I think this, it must be true. But our
Mm,
thoughts aren't always true. People always
mhm.
forget that. And so,
Yes.
the way to allow shame to be diminished
Mm-hmm.
is by sharing our story, by
Yes.
sharing the fears, sharing the embarrassment I feel so
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed about, I feel ashamed about. Because when
Mm,
someone else is a compassionate witness, they can bring
yes.
truth and they can say, they can normalize, or they can
Yeah.
say, you know what, that was hard what you went through. And it
Mm,
makes sense that that's how you showed up. But
yeah.
that's not necessarily who you are. And that
Exactly.
situation does not define you. And
Mm,
so shame really can be reduced when we live in community, or we can find
yes.
people who can be our supporters and they
Yeah.
can speak life into our situation.
Yeah. And I love what you said by defining them as they need to be compassionate witnesses.
Yeah,
And the truth is that that might sometimes not be your family.
that part.
It might not be your friends either.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's important. I, the amount of times, and this might be a cultural thing, the amount of times where I have seen people share, like, life is going hard, I feel like giving up. And the response is, don't say that, girl, you got this. Don't say that. You got to speak positively. And there's just
mhm,
this thing of, we can't allow space for someone to
mm,
say, I don't have it, I don't got it. you know
exactly. Exactly.
I cannot do this, I feel like giving up, I don't
Mm,
have faith. If anything, I am fully doubting,
yeah.
I'm scared. We don't allow enough space for that. And instead, what we
Mm,
do is we jump in to rescue, to quickly resolve. And that
yeah.
can be done from a place of love, but that
Hmm.
can also be done from a place of that person's fear, their inability to sit in the tension. And so
Yes.
that's why having spaces like therapy
Hmm.
can mean that you have a space where someone can hold that truth and say,
Hmm.
okay, you feel like giving up. Tell me more about what that is. What does
Yeah.
giving up look like
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
What would
Yeah.
happen if you gave up? What are
Mm,
the benefits of giving up?
hmm.
What are the disadvantages of giving up? Because
Mm,
that person is saying, you know what, take my hand. Let's walk through that together.
yes.
Let's walk through
Yes.
this journey and see where we get to. And then
Mm,
let's think about whether that is the right path or if
yeah.
there's another way.
Hmm. That's so powerful. That is so powerful. Yeah. Really to recognize that, sometimes people are acting out of their own fears and their own anxieties and their own shame to not be able to hold you in your vulnerability.
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
Mm.
Okay, Vanessa, I think we've got space for one more question.
Sure.
Um, so, what boundary or habit shift has
Mm.
made the biggest difference to your emotional well-being?
Mm. I mean, I think it's funny that it kind of flows from what we were just talking about. It is inviting in compassionate witnesses, but also, so therapy, but also actually voicing the help that is needed.
Yeah,
So, again, going back to the cleaner, yes, Black woman raised to, always keep an immaculate home. I can't do it. I can't do
can't do it.
I can't do it all the time. It doesn't work like that. So actually feeling liberated enough to reach out, knowing that, the ancestors or the living ancestors are going to be like, why are you doing this? Why are you not cleaning your own house? But I'm like, I literally cannot. I need help. I think for me, that has been the biggest shift for my emotional well-being, recognizing where I need help, seeking that help out where I can, you know, and just not letting that be almost like a slight to my character. Because it's so easy to say, oh, well, other people are able to maintain their own households. Why can't you do that, Vanetta? Like, what's going on? Other people have 4, 6, 8, 10 children and are not struggling with keeping their house clean. Why are you struggling? We did it in our generations with less conveniences than you do. Like, you've got a washing machine. We grew up with, I'm like, yeah.
We used to use washboards.
Exactly. I'm like, I get it. I can't do it anymore. That is the biggest boundary shift for my well-being, to rest in the fact that I ain't got, like you said, I ain't got it, and it's okay.
I love that, because it is okay. It is okay. And what you've highlighted there was the importance of hearing your own voice, because we are surrounded by so many other voices and other people's needs and their perspectives, and it's easy to drown in that. But what you're doing is you're saying, you know what, for me, my situation, this is what I need. I recognize that this is my boundary line and I don't want to cross it. You can cross it. You might be armored with the strength that's been given to you for that. But for me, this is how I exist, and this is where my strength is shown.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, Marianne, what was the biggest boundary or habit shift for you that affected your well-being, impacted it positively?
Yeah, it's actually, for me, it was being able to tell people that I'm not okay when I'm not feeling okay, to say I'm not okay. So when people go, hey, how are you? The default is, I'm okay, good, I'm good. Usually I'll say, well, the highs have been and the lows have been. That's usually what I default to. Or, you know what? It's been a bit of a tough week. Or, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Or, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this project that's come up. So for me, it's been around not being too rigid. So, you know, with boundaries, you can have porous boundaries where there's no boundaries. People just come in and do what they like. Then you can have rigid boundaries where it's like, no, not letting anyone else in. And then there's the healthy boundaries somewhere in the middle. For me, when it came to my emotions, my well-being, and just, you know, how I've been doing, my default was a bit rigid, where I wouldn't share. And it was back to that idea of, I've got to be everyone's rescuer. And, you know, being the eldest daughter, I've got to make sure that I have things together. I've got to be conscientious. So there's no space for messy. And then I would act like I was everyone's, you know, I was there to hold other people's emotions, but not giving them space to hold mine. And so I had to do a bit of a check and a rewiring. And so my default now is, I'm going to let you know what I'm struggling with. Yeah. Because that allows me to know that I'm human. And it means that the dynamic between us won't be that I'm by default your rescuer or your therapist. And one thing I say to friends now, and even to my husband as a joke, I always go, I ain't your therapist. Yep. And you ain't my client. Yeah. And that's what I say. You're not my client and I'm not your therapist. So I'm going to show up as who I am, and you need to show up as who you are. And that's been really, really empowering for me. Yeah.
I love that. I hear that. I absolutely love that. I think it reminds me that actually becoming a therapist and learning about all these the boundaried relationships, that helping relationships, was like so game changing for me, because it's like, oh, okay, so I don't need to be, you know, enmeshed into the lives of everybody that I'm wanting to help.
Exactly. That's the thing about being a qualified therapist, like the both of us. Our training is rigorous in allowing us to be able to hold other people's stuff, but not bringing our own stuff into it and not getting it muddled. And it means that we can be more boundaried outside of our work. When we're with our friends and our families, we're able to say, you know what, I'm showing up as Vanetta, I'm showing up as Marianne right now. And, you know, I can't hold your stuff. or I need you to hold my stuff
My
right
stuff. Yes.
now. And I think
Yes.
ever since I qualified as a therapist, I've actually become way better at that
Yeah.
than
Same.
before. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I've enjoyed this conversation, girl.
Same. As always. But yeah, today was special for sure.
Yeah. So what would you say is, just one word of wisdom that you want to leave our viewers and listeners with?
One word. Oh, that's difficult.
Oh, a sentence, a phrase.
Okay. In that case, I would say find your compassionate witnesses, because I think that's where vulnerability really is given space to be. When you are around people who are compassionate, when you're around people who are willing to see you at your worst and at your best, and in both ways, not make you a caricature of either.
I love that.
So yeah, find your compassionate witnesses.
Find your compassionate witnesses. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I would, for me, actually linking into that, it's learn to be, firstly, your own compassionate witness. Know yourself, know your story. Okay. Because when you create space to know yourself, you are demonstrating love. You're showing yourself that you are valuable and you matter. And then that becomes the template in which you then want others to be able to step into when it comes to who you are and how they respond to you. So be your own compassionate witness first.
Yes.
And then go and find other compassionate witnesses, because you've then created the template and you can then recognize what compassion looks like.
Yes. I love that.
So what we always like to do is to invite our people to be able to take time to really process the topics that we've been reflecting on. And so when it comes to vulnerability, one exercise that we would like to invite you to take forward is just to take time away from distraction, away from the noise of life, and just to sit and to reflect, or to sit and to journal the following question: what truth am I avoiding? That's a big question, and it can be a very scary question, but it's an important one, because for us to live wholesomely, we've got to live in truth. We've got to learn to be vulnerable with ourselves and to be our own compassionate witness. So take time to just reflect on, what truth am I avoiding? And what is influencing that avoidance? What am I scared of? What am I worried about? And just take the time to be able to just chew on that, to process it and see what comes up for you. And if you feel brave enough, find a friend who is truly a compassionate witness, or take it to therapy and start to unravel the narrative of your story, the narrative of your situation and the season that you're in, so you can live more wholesomely and more joyfully. All right.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Next time. Bye.
Thank you for spending this time with us here at Belong and Bloom.
We hope today's conversation offered you a moment to breathe, reflect, and remember, you are not alone on this journey.
If this episode spoke to you, share it with a sister, a friend, or a loved one who might need the same reminder.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen, so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care.
And keep blooming.